Really showing a statement of intent here to get out of the group stage, something they haven't done since 2018. Well, listen, plenty to talk about despite the fact that it was a goalless draw after the opening 45 minutes. Here in the studio with us, Luis Figo as well as Wayne Rooney. Both of them had their opportunities and also looked that they had spells in which they were more dominant. But who would you say impressed you the most so far?
Well, I think both, and maybe with some changes in some teams that will change the game.
And talking about surprises, maybe Senegal is someone who is really surprising us all, considering that they came out really guns blazing. About Van Gaal for a moment, both of you have been in the situation at halftime where I'm sure he's given you guys all different kinds of conversations and pep talks. What might he be saying to his team right now in terms of trying to motivate them to find that goal in the second half that will lead them to victory?
Well, I think probably
The World Cup after just 4 years, but in the case of the Welsh, well, they have had to wait 64 long years in order to feature in a World Cup once again. Well, that is a game that will take place in Group B. We will certainly break it all down for you later on, but for now we want to take you back to another game that took place earlier in the day. This one also from Group B. It was an absolute masterclass of goals, and this is one in which you certainly don't want to blink because you will miss it. There were 8 goals in it. So here's a quick look at what happened between England and Iran.
Customary and very coolly done, and he's after the ball.
Well, Gareth Southgate certainly has his 3 Lions roaring and roaring very loud after quite an impressive start to the World Cup. It's the biggest result they've ever actually had in the opening game of a World Cup. England, for them, did lose on the night in a game that was a bit crazy. They had 24 minutes total in injury time. But this is exactly the kind of performance that England fans will certainly have wanted to see from their team tonight.
Together, they play like a team. So that's why it's very important for all the players.
It certainly is very important for all the players and very important for him as well. I'm sure he felt a sense of relief and vindication after the way that he was treated following the European Championship final. We had the chance to speak to Saka, so let's hear his reaction, what he had to say about finding the back of the net, and of course, that all-important victory.
Bukayo, a win and 2 goals.
For my teammates, and that's all I need, you know, and then I feel good and I'm ready to give 100%. So I gave that today and I'll continue to do that every time I put the shot on.
Well, he may have scored 2, but he certainly was unselfish, as there was plenty of love to go around and sharing the goals as well, because he wasn't alone in that 6-2 thriller. In fact, Marcus Rashford came off the bench and made an immediate impact as well. On only his 3rd touch, he was able to add a 5th goal for England. And having said that, that's exactly why we've chosen him as our ET Money Genius moment.
Geo Cinema and Sports 18's coverage of Genius Move, brought to you by ET Money.
Well, there you have it. England are certainly off to a flying start, and I'm sure a lot of people would probably say that they're the likely candidates to go through from Group A as the leaders of the group, but they do have for this game to roll around, so you can certainly feel the excitement all the way from Doha. Well, of course, let's take a quick look at what we can expect from this one as the 2 line up in just a few moments. Well, it certainly is an intriguing encounter, this one, no doubt about that. We were just talking about this. Brad, welcome, by the way. Coming off the bench to sub in here for us. We were just talking a little bit about Group A in general and the chances of each team qualifying. Well, there's certainly a World Cup in which we can see the US maybe laying some foundations. The US, along with Canada and Mexico, will be the next host in 2026. And we're looking at a team that has the 2nd youngest squad overall in the competition this time around. And in fact, only 1 player, I think, has experience at this level, if I'm not mistaken. So could
Britain thrust of a US teams that you used to see in the past. I think they're a bit more technically gifted now, and I think they've caused some challenges for this Welsh team tonight.
Well, Christian Pulisic certainly is one of those very technically and talented players for the US men's national team. We have the opportunity to speak to him as well on the eve of his first game in the World Cup. Let's hear what he had to say.
Group stage, you have 3 games to play. It's very important.
So Pulisic talking about how hungry, how eager, how excited they all are to try and do some real damage here in the World Cup and to really make a name for themselves. It sounds as though they don't really need any extra motivation in order to do so, but nonetheless, the team received a very special phone call that provided perhaps a little bit more inspiration than they need.
Here we go.
Give us some luck, either if we didn't won, but we did it pretty well, I think.
Well, there you go. I'm sure you made your nation proud anyway. Well, let's take a look then at Wales' starting 11. As we said, they have been so very patiently waiting for this.
Big competition.
Well, you can all imagine that he was once that little boy as well that was so eagerly excited to try and get to this stage as well on an individual level and to help take his team to a World Cup and do some really good things in it, of course. Well, it certainly is a very emotional night for him as he has been one of the key men to lead Wales back to a World Cup. The others as well, so we'll see how it goes for them in the attacking players. But in any case, Gareth Bale, by the way, while the US men's national team will try and put a stop to him, he actually has already been told that he's not allowed to do something else that he very much loves.
You have to be careful a little bit. Don't exaggerate in things that put in risk your performance.
Well, there you go. All right, well, we'll see then how they get on. Obviously, we're talking a little bit of what we can expect. Let's see what the numbers tell us, though, in terms of how things might play out between the US and Wales. So I can imagine that some of the fans will be absolutely just stoked with what. In the studio with Luis Figo as well as Prad ready. We're going to talk a little bit about what we saw in that opening 45 minutes between the US and Wales. It really has been a dominant performance from the Americans and really a deserved lead so far, I think we can say.
Totally.
And that's a really good point because Wales, they came out to defend. It's certainly not going to be good enough going forward. They'll have to do something, change something up in the second half if they want to get a foothold in this game and try to take something from it.
Yeah, it might be like Robert Page looks at. They can still feel they're alive in it, but they lose today, and I think it's going to be very difficult for them to get out of the group.
It could definitely be very difficult for them. They do need Gareth Bale to turn up in the second half because he's been a bit of a ghost in this opening 45 minutes. He's only had 15 touches on the ball. He's only had. If he gets one more yellow, obviously it would be a red card for tonight. But if he were to get another yellow in the next game against Iran, that means he's out against England, which could be a massive blow for them if at that stage they're still fighting to get out of the group stage.
Denmark, Tunisia.
OK, so apart from the games, if you want to watch Luis Figo, you know what you have to do. You have to make sure you watch those two games and you tune into the studio. What about for you, Prad?
I think the first one, watching Messi's Argentina.